Welcome back to How to Healthcare. Stay tuned as we discuss how to age well. This interview will motivate us to begin now to live a vibrant and active life as we age. Please subscribe and follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Hey, and welcome. This is How to Healthcare. I'm your host, Emily Persley. Today, I have with me Dr. Maria Cristina Sheehan, Health and Wellness. Thank you, Dr. Maria, for being here today.
My pleasure to be here, Emily. Thank you.
I gave a very brief introduction because I wanted you to be able to let everyone know a little bit about yourself straight from you. Let's just jump right into your professional background.
Well, I spent over 40 years in education, the last 20 of which I spent in the top position as a CEO for three different incredible community colleges. And I started off very early on in really working with hearing impaired children, and now I'm hearing impaired, substantially so. But then my hearing was perfect, and I was working with children who were profoundly hearing impaired. And I just sort of moved through that experience, that wonderful experience, developing programs at the elementary level into programs at community colleges that began in the early 70s. So I was one of those pioneers for establishing special services for that population that was just coming in and being integrated into mainstream college experience with support services. So that was my job for a while. And then I started moving into various administrative positions and finally received, let's say, a second master's and then a doctorate degree. And that's where doctor comes from. And so the terminal degree or the preferred degree is a doctorate in education or a PhD. And so I had that degree and decided I was fairly young at the time, and why not spend the next 20 years plus in education and that's what I did. And in that experience, what I found was there's a lot of pressures at the top. And it's that saying, it's lonely at the top. Yes. So there's a lot of pressure. And you tend to, I think many of us in those positions tend to segment our health, put it over on one side. And that's just not just, you know, CEOs or top level administrators. It's a lot of us, no matter what we're doing. We've got a whole lot of balls in the air, but the one that we should be coordinating with everything else that we're doing, we drop and we don't put it up there. And that's the journey of health and wellness. So how we sleep, what we eat, how we handle our stress, none of that is in that little box or ball that we're tossing in the air. And so things tend to go south in a hurry. And that's kind of what it really pivoted me into this whole arena of health and wellness, is looking at the decay of the health of myself and my colleagues, getting heavier and slowing down, or getting heart attacks and bypasses. And one of my colleagues in my last institution literally died on the job. And
Wow.
it became very clear to me that it's no one's responsibility except for yourself. I really was trying to advocate, even though I didn't know as much about the field of wellness as I do today, but I tried to advocate for something that could be done for the senior administrators, like a executive physical. Maybe that would have been an intervention. That suggestion just fell on, nobody was interested in that. But it really made me realize that it is my responsibility. It's everybody's own responsibility to focus on what path they're going to have in terms of their wellness. And so I decided I would do something, and my financial advisor recommended that I see his trainer. And he had seen me puff up over the years. I was about 25 pounds heavier than I am today. And he said, you should see my trainer. He's never hurt anyone. And I thought, I'm not going to do that. But then I've tried everything else, nothing to lose. And that began my journey into the whole arena of health and wellness. I saw the
Wow.
trainer. I'm
Wow,
still with
so
him today.
yeah. Oh, wow, that's great. And so you said you're 77 now. When did that what age were you when when you made that transition?
So I stepped away at 69, yeah, because I decided I didn't want to be a 70-year-old going south in my health. And that's
Yeah.
where I was going. So at 69, for my 69th birthday, I decided to take that leap into seeing a trainer. And and I did that. I walked in, it was very old school, 3 sessions a week, an hour a session, and that this is how you need to eat, and you can't miss a session, and it was very strict and very old school, and and I decided I had nothing to lose. And what I did find out, and this is how I really enjoy helping busy professionals, is what I did find out is that even though with this crunch of my decision to leave my institution and retire at 69, uh, in the in that process of letting go, that 6 months process is probably the busiest time I ever had in my whole career. Letting go of boards and
Wow.
making sure all the ends, loose ends are tied up of a 20 plus year experience at the top position. That was a lot. And during that time, that is when I pursued this extra ball in the air, and that was the training sessions, which means if you can do it at the busiest time, you you can do it. And I love helping the professionals that I work with see how that's possible, because it is possible. I often hear, well, I don't have time. And the reality
Yeah.
is, we have time to do what we want to do. We have
Yes,
time,
yeah.
even if it's just to do nothing. We find the time.
That's very true, and what we place priority on is definitely where we find the time, whatever's most important to us, for sure. Yeah. Well, looking back, you're definitely a case to it's never too late to start. But looking back, do you wish that you had started sooner? And like, what would be some advice then as younger executives, maybe that would motivate them to get started younger? Or is it like just wait till you retire?
No, that's a really good question, and it shouldn't be wait till you retire, because it actually should be a part of a lifestyle at any age, and the younger, the better. The longer you let it go, the harder it becomes. And I did a little live piece a couple of days ago for my group, Flourish with Age. It's a little closed Facebook group, but I entitled it. Giving in to giving up. And this is what happens as the years go by and you don't do anything. You finally give in to giving up and you decide, there's nothing I can do. And our country is an example of that. We're not a healthy country. We're, predominantly overweight or obese, according to the American Heart Association. So what is happening is that giving up issue is a real one, where we look around and nobody else is following the fitness journey. So we say, okay, I guess I can't. I guess it's too late. And I hear women saying this as they're approaching 50. They're not even 50
Mm.
yet. They're already going to be over the hill when they turn
Right.
50. If that is your mentality, what will 70 be like?
Oh,
So the
yeah.
year that you started, and it's a beautiful lifestyle. So once you get there and you're on that path, the pride that you feel in yourself is amazing, because you've controlled something that's just gone nuts, right? You've controlled something that you didn't think you could, right? And you see the results of it and the energy that you have, and you feel pride in the fact that you took responsibility.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah. And so, kind of along those lines, too, is a lot of people always talk about work life balance, but I feel like a lot of the missing pieces, well, how? How do you go about that? So, is there something that you talk to a lot of your clients that you could give maybe a piece of advice or a little bit of a how you approach it?
Right. So, first of all, you have to decide that it's a priority. You mentioned that before. So, priority has to be there. Nobody can eat for you. No one can exercise for you. No one can have the right mindset for you. That you have to have at a level of 10 from a scale of 1 to 10. It has to be very high. That one, you decide, yeah, I want a different life. I want to be there for my grandkids. Okay?
Mm,
I want to be there with energy for my children today. And how are you going to do that if you're not investing in your health? The other problem that comes is what example are you showing for the children that you're raising as a younger person? So the the main issue is consistency. Okay, consistency, and it isn't about spending a couple hours a day in the gym. That is absolutely not necessary. So when I work with ladies, I say, try to put 3 days a week with some light uh, uh, strength training, some weight workouts, and I have how to start that on my website. And it's Let's Do Weights is what it's called. And what do you do? And I have exercises in my Flourish group. What do you do? How do you start? And one of them, I have a whole series, and it's called 10 to Tone. What can you do in 10 minutes? And it's amazing. Okay,
mm,
so who doesn't have 10 minutes a day? If you
yeah.
just invested 10 minutes a day and you say, oh, well, I know that's too much. Okay, how about 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes at night? Now there's your 10 minutes. And you could put cardio in there. You could put lightweight work in there. But the fact is, you showed up for yourself and you started to develop a practice, a lifestyle that you can sustain. So when you go all out, and this is a problem why there is billions of dollars of what they call phantom uh, memberships for health clubs. The phantom memberships are because people pay and then they never show up because they think well, first of all, it's not a big financial investment, so I don't lose anything. Second, nobody will know that I didn't go, so I'm not going. So you've got that problem. And third, it takes too much time. It's going to be, an hour or two out of my day every day. And that is unless you're, I don't even do that. And I am a fitness competitor and I do not spend a couple of hours a day in a gym. I just don't do that. So I have my 3 hours once a week with my trainer. Now, those are very intense times. Those 3 hours are very intense. Okay, and then I go home and I need a nap, I think, but we do the 3 hours. And then in between, I work with my clients and I do exercises that are warm-ups and nothing really too heavy. And then I try to do a yoga class a week. Now, when you add all that time up, it's not very much. Okay, but it's
Mm,
enough to keep if you keep the consistent steps going. So after I worked to the point where I am right now, just with what I told you, nothing more than that, but it was consistent. So I didn't
mm,
do that for, a month and then stop. Well, the problem is with the health clubs too, the gym memberships, people go all out, right? And then
right.
it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
They try to do a couple of hours a week, and that lasts for maybe a month, and then they can't do it because they made it too much. So if you can just put it into small chunks of time and say, "Hey, I did 10 minutes today," but I did the same amount of time for every single day. That mounts up. That's significant.
Yes, that is all great, wonderful information, and it's so important too. Everything you just touched on. Not only is it making it sustainable, because I'm with you. I've heard so many times people go and they say, "Well, I just hurt too bad the next day," because they just did too much. They overworked their muscles and hurt themselves, and they just did too much. And another thing that you talked about, the very first thing was finding your motivation. And I can't stress that enough, how important that is to work with a health coach that can help you find that motivation. Because some people say, well, I don't really have a motivation. I don't have anything that's like really pushing me. I know I need to, but I'm having a hard time finding that motivation. And I think that's so important to work with a health coach to help find that motivation, and then also to help find those barriers. Where can you find that 10 minutes of time? What type of exercises can you do? What can you do, as opposed to just throwing in the towel and saying there's nothing that can be done. Here it is, I'm 50 and I'm done. It's everybody can do something. And so I think that's great. All those are wonderful pieces of information that you just touched on.
Well, and let me just
So I
go further on your point. It's for the daily exercises that we want. We want to be able to carry our own grocery bags without needing some help.
yes.
And as we age, we want to be able to easily put our overhead into our overnight case into the overhead bin. We want to be able
Right.
to get down on the ground and play with a puppy, run after the kids. These are all day-to-day things that we start to lose our ability to do as we age if we don't put any intervention in. And my motivation is, being a 77-year-old, I'm probably going to be an 87-year-old and a 97-year-old. And it goes like this. The time goes so fast. And
Yeah.
and if I am, so are younger people going to live longer as well? Because look, we can replace almost all of our body parts, and medical science is going to keep us pumping. And so the question is, in what condition do we want to be in? Because
Yes.
we can't say, I don't want to live any longer. We're going to be going, right? Okay. We may say that and think that, but that's not our decision. And we're going to go on. And so, therefore, if we're going to go into these later years, how are we going to protect ourselves from not being frail, fragile, falling, and having all of those stereotypical issues that happen with older people? We don't see enough of the models that are over 80, over 90, over 100. We don't see those people. They're out there. And I
Yeah.
love to showcase them. You have to really dig to find them because we don't celebrate them. We ought to, because they ought to be, out there as our models. These are the
Yeah.
trailblazers of how we should be living our older years. And I think just about every single one of them that I've researched will not let the word old be used, even though they're over 80, over 90, over 100. Nope. No, they won't allow it. Won't allow it.
Yeah, it's you're only as old as you feel sometimes. And that's I was gonna ask you about that, about aging well, and you touched point on some of that. One of the things where you were talking about falling, and that's a huge part of aging is losing some balance. And you said that you did some yoga, which is really important, but then also weight training, going back to being able to lift groceries. That's why it's so important. But can you talk a little bit more about that, about why that's so important? Since you are 77 and you do lift weights, how's your day to day? Are you able to go about putting away your groceries? Like, how do you feel about your day to day?
It's very exciting because I don't need help getting out of my chair, and I don't think I will for the next 20 years or more. But it's really fabulous to be able to sling all the bags on your arms and carry them up 2 flights of stairs without any help. And I can do that. Or I showed one time where I had the big, heavy cases of water, and I lifted them from the lower level of the shelves to into the cart, from the cart uh, into the trunk of the car, from the trunk of the car up to levels of stairs, uh, and without a problem. And so that it really, the independence that you that everyone fears as they age, that losing that independence. Nobody wants to have to sit back and say, gee, I can't do this until somebody comes to my rescue. And we can be our own rescuers. We can do it for ourselves. The problem comes with not doing anything along the way as the years go along. And so today I was working with some ladies on balance and just
Hmm.
standing and holding one foot off the ground until, and just holding on to something, and then the using the other alternate foot, just, and then until you don't even need to hold on, and then getting your phone out and seeing how many minutes you could do it, and then going on to balance poses, yoga balance poses. And then I showed the progression of how far you could go. And when I started, so I started as a 69-year-old, and now at 77, I can do a number of the very difficult yoga poses without a problem. And I'm
Wow.
pushing further. So here's the thing also that we don't hear as we age. The docs are not trained in preventative care, right? They're trained to
Yes.
help us after we're ill. And
Yes.
so, yeah, they will say, if they know that we need exercise. So if they know you're over 50, they'll probably say, and if they think your weight is not where it should be, they'll say, "Oh, you should lose weight." Okay, well, that doesn't really help that much, because what are you going to do? Or you should
Right.
walk. Okay, so, and that's not enough. That is not enough. So you have to invest some time, a little bit at a time, um, and it doesn't take much, to get that balance that you need, and then keep going. So it isn't about just plateauing. So it's about doing more every year. So that's counterintuitive. We got to slow down, can't do it. No, no, no. So the two authors of Younger Next Year, they were best-selling authors they had one book for women, one book for men. They're best-selling authors for I don't know how long. They number one best-selling book years ago. But their premise was about not going backwards in terms of what you're doing in terms of exercise, but pushing yourself a little bit further. So what I was showing today is the progression of where you could go, where you could start here, but you should hope to be here and even further than that. So when I first saw a Bosu ball, what the heck is that? And I was afraid of it. I was afraid to get on it. I was afraid to get off it. And I had a good trainer. And he said, "Get on there. You can do this." And so if you want to do it, you can do it. And if your body is ready to do it, you can do it. And I'm still working with him today on pushing further, because okay, now I can do the Bosu ball, and I can do the yoga poses, but what more can I do? There's always something more. So I'm not where I want to be. I don't want to lose anything. I don't want to go backwards. I want to go forward, and what I am
Yeah.
able to do.
That is so fantastic. Yeah, use it or lose it. I mean,
So true. It really is so true.
yeah. Oh, that's so fantastic. And I love that you were talking about working with some of your clients that you have on some balance and things. And since you're in Nevada, um, do you have online ways that people can get your classes or your courses or any events that they can do with you?
Yes, so right now I'm very excited to have the 77 Club, because I'm 77. So it's a subscription program, and it's 77.77 a month. And I meet with the ladies, and it's a very small group. So it's a good time to get in. It's only going to last to the end of the year. We'll have our goals set, and we're going to just evaluate how far can you go between now and the end of the year. And so I meet online twice a month. So you can be anywhere in the country, anywhere. And then I have the ladies in a closed Facebook group. Like, I'm going to go into that group and give them a meditation session and another about how to, we want the tight abs, right? So a couple of abdominal workouts that they can do. And then when I meet with them twice a month, there's always a component on nutrition and a component on exercises. So
Okay.
I have the top arm exercises, and I did those for the ladies today. So it doesn't matter where you jump in, because everything is recorded and you can go back and watch everything. And then the support is in the Facebook group. And then you also get at 1 hour one-on-one once a month with me. So that's the 77 Club.
Wow. That's fantastic. Not only is that great that your movement, but then you're building community, and I love that because as you age, sometimes it can get really lonely sometimes. So I love that, and I know it can be nerve-wracking for some to have to join into a group, but I think that's fantastic because it's very helpful for just encouragement, understanding, and just being able to build that community. That's fantastic. Do you have something else coming up as well?
I do. I have the Elite Retreat in Panama. And so I just did one this year in Costa Rica, and it was wonderful in so many ways. But this is going to go to even the next level. So the Elite Retreat in Panama is it's a wellness retreat in terms of information that I will be providing about nutrition, about uh, aging issues, all of the longevity research I'll be sharing, but a lot of fun. And one of the highlights of this trip is a private jet to the San Blas Islands, which are the most
Wow.
beautiful, beautiful islands. So, white sands and beautiful crystal blue water. And we'll board a private catamaran and we'll go around to the islands for the day. And then some other incredible restaurants and other excursions. We'll be in a five-star hotel I've stayed in a number of times. Great service, great food. And we will be soaking up the cultura, the culture of Panama, and having a fabulous time. Now it's only 6 women, so it's an opportunity to really connect with other women that are on the fitness journey and support each other.
Wow. Do you have to be a certain age to do that?
No, 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 not at all,
Oh, wow, that
not at
sounds
all.
fantastic. And so how do they find out about both of those programs? Where can they go?
So it's my website, and that's drmariacristina.com, and Christina.
Is there anything else that you would like to share about your, website or any other events that you have going on or classes?
Well, those are the major things. It's the 77 Club, and that's just going to the end of the year. And then February 1st through the 7th is this elite retreat in Panama. Then also there is my closed Facebook group where I have tagged all these stories about these incredible trailblazers, these women that are over 80, 90, and 100 years of age.
Wow.
So those stories are there, as well as my 10 to tone workouts. So have you got 10 minutes? Invest in yourself, and it's free. You can just click on, and I'd love to have anyone who wants to join Flourish with Age. So that's the closed Facebook group, and then there's the website. Those two are the primary things that I'm offering right now.
That's fantastic. Yeah, so I encourage everyone. I will put it in the show notes, and everyone can click on the link and then follow you to your webpage and find out more information about that. I would like to ask you before we go. I always like to ask everyone about a nonprofit shout out. If you have a nonprofit that you like to support that you could tell our listeners about.
Well, I'm a member of Rotary here in Reno, a Rotary Club, and we do a lot of international projects, a lot of local projects. So, a ton of support for our local community. But I also have a program that the Rotary Club of Reno has supported as well, and it's called Casa Providencia. It's in Colon, Panama, and one of the things that we'll do in the Elite Retreat is a visit to this orphanage. It started from nothing, and it is a demonstration site today for severely, severely disabled children, called Los Abandonados, the kids that have just been abandoned on the street or in a hospital, and no one wants them because of the
Mm,
level of their disability. This orphanage takes them, and whatever little bit of strength God has given them, whatever little ability, they take that to the next level. So they can't walk, they get them in little walkers, they potty train them, and all of these things that would be, we would think of a simple steps of maturation, they would not have an opportunity to experience if it were not for Casa Providencia, giving
Wow.
these children the opportunity to utilize whatever bit of their bodies and their broken little bodies is left for them to develop. So you see kids learning to walk for the first time, learning to sit up for the first
Wow.
time, getting potty trained, and that would never happen. So the life uh, expectancy for these kids is about 2 years if they are left in a hospital. They would go to an orphanage that did not have the facility to help. Okay, so not the capacity. So they would be languishing, left to languish, left to die. About 2 years is the expected life expectancy. And now these kids, well, they had a quinceañera, which is a 15-year-old, a celebration for a
Wow.
15-year-old. Okay, so and she came a little bit late, but at 15, she's still going. And she has no use of her upper body. So everything is controlled by her lower body. And she can do almost everything that you might think that you could do with two hands, with 2 feet. And that's what this kind
Oh,
of orphanage has been able to provide for these kids. So that's my passion right now is helping that orphanage.
wow. Well, if that doesn't motivate you to get up and move, the fact that we are able-bodied people and these kids are fighting every
Absolutely,
day.
absolutely. And I do compete in fitness competitions, and one of the most inspirational parts of these competitions, the international one, is a segment for disabled athletes. And you have these people rolling onto the stage and they have half a body, and that half a body they have developed to its most perfect level with only half a body, right? So, and they do all of the required poses, and it's you think if they can with half a body, then who has an excuse?
Right, right. Will we be seeing you in any other future competitions?
Well, I've competed for the last 6 years. I started at 71 and I did compete last year. So this is 2023, and I'm taking this year off as a building year, and I'm going to be in a new category next year. I'll be 78. I'll be competing in figure, which is more controlled poses, and I'll be doing that next year.
Well, that is just amazing. Is there anything else that you would like to add that I have not asked you about yet?
Well, I think I always I get asked questions about what are the most important things to think about in terms of your fitness journey. And there are three components to that. And the first is the mental component, and that is not believing the narrative that you're old at a certain age. You're old when you decide you're old. Okay. And then once you do that, then you start ascribing all the stereotypical activities to that age. And so you have to move that mindset to the place where you are going to be the best you can be for you, regardless of what age you are. Regardless, they have to take the age thing and put that aside. So it's the mindset is one piece of the journey. The second piece of the journey is what you put into your body. Okay, so you cannot do the exercise piece and split it apart from the nutritional piece. And today, what we eat we shouldn't be eating. And what we drink, we shouldn't be drinking. So this old research piece where, I guess it was a promotional piece. They said, 2 drinks a day, that's okay. No, okay, it's not okay. Alcohol is a toxin, doesn't do anything good for us. And so we have to be really intentional about alcohol. If you haven't started to drink, you shouldn't. If you are drinking, you should limit it.
Hmm.
Then you should be absolutely hydrating, that's so important. And then eating real food. And that sounds like it's a simple thing, but we are very convenient, um, addicted, and we want fast and convenient. Both are bad. So if we want fast, we're going for fast food. We're going for all of the addictive ingredients. It's going to keep us coming back for more. It's going to make us heavy. It's just going to ruin our bodies. It's going to attack our microbiome. It's not what we put in fast food should not be consumed. So we got to put
Mm.
fast food aside unless we're able to really be selective. So sometimes you can get salads and they're pretty good, and there are some like uh, where you can go in and pick the meat, or Subway is not that bad. If you can pick um, really some pretty healthy things at Subway. So if you're gonna pick a fast food, you got to really be intentional about what it is you're selecting.
Mhm.
So that nutritional piece, what we're eating, what we're drinking, that's the second piece of the journey. And then the third piece of the journey is the movement. And we have to move. Our bodies were meant to move.
That is all great, wonderful advice. And I just feel so blessed that I am here learning from you and that you are giving us your pieces of wisdom and advice. And I think you're a trailblazer. I think it's fantastic what you're doing and that you are just so motivating and you're walking the walk, talking the talk. And it's just been such a pleasure getting to talk to you and meet with you today.
Well, I can't thank you enough for the opportunity, Emily. And I will tell you that I love to encourage people on their journey. So if someone's stuck and they need a little push and they want some support, they can book a call, and I'll be happy to talk to them.
That is fantastic. Well, thank you again so much. Y'all can find Dr. Maria Cristina, Sheehan Health and Wellness online. And I am just so grateful that you gave us your time today. Thanks again.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening. Please rate the show and subscribe to get the latest notifications. You can also find me online at howtohealthcare.net.